So, a guy named Michael Griffiths, he asked me a question in one of my last videos. He commented on one of my videos with the question about CR England, because I brought something, I guess I said stay the fuck away from CR England or something like that. And he asked me, he said, I've been talking to a recruiter with CR England, and why shouldn't I go with them and stuff like that. And I figured it'd be easier for me to just put it in a short video than reply to your comment. It'd be easier, it'd be quicker. So, look, if you work for CR England currently, if you have worked for them, if you're gonna work for them, and you think, wow, they're like the best company ever and all this shit, hey, who am I to dispute that, right? Who the fuck am I, right? All I know about CR England, all you know about anything is just your personal experiences. So, I make my judgment on something based on my personal experiences with it. My opinion, my judgment on something could be wrong, but I go off only what I've seen and what I know. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not, okay, yeah, maybe I was a little overzealous by saying you should just stay the fuck away from them. But honestly, I just feel like if you're looking for a starter company, I've heard so many bad stories about England, and I feel like the small, limited experience I had with England kind of reinforced the bad things I heard about them. Anyways, when I was first looking into going to CDL school, I was cruising the web, and I was looking at different companies that would put you through school and get your CDL for free and stuff like that. And I was thinking, I was looking at comparing companies, and I put in the basic mini application with some of them, where it's just a request for information, not a full application. And one of the companies, I think CR England was one of them. And why I say I think is because these companies, they'll call you on the phone even if you haven't submitted any information to them. Like Swift called me, and I hadn't even put in an application with Swift. But, you put your email address on there, I guess everybody gets it or whatever. But anyways, CR England, one of the recruiters calls me. I was working as a mechanic at the time, and I was at work. And I answer the phone, and he starts going on with his sales pitch about, that we'll put you through school, and we'll get you on a bus here and all this other shit, giving me the sales ploy. And I didn't know anything about the industry, and he's going on and on. I'm thinking, well, what he was saying was, I can get you in Salt Lake City this Sunday. And it was like Wednesday. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute, dude. I gotta talk to my girlfriend about this. I gotta put a 2-week notice into my job and stuff like that. I can't just drop everything and go to Salt Lake in the next 2 days. And then what he says next, and the recruiter, he could do auctions because he was speaking so fucking fast, And he was saying well, this is basically what he said. He said, well, we could, if you want, we could put your girlfriend on a 3-way call, and I can answer any questions that she has right now, and that way, she's on board and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that's not what I mean, dude. I need to talk to her I need to make plans and preparations for this, Can't just up and leave. I gotta figure some stuff, get some stuff straightened out before I just up and leave, and go 7 states away or whatever. And then he was saying, well, as far as your job is concerned, you don't really have to put in a 2-week notice. It's not a requirement. There's not even a law that specifies you have to put in a 2-week notice. It's really just kind of a common courtesy. So you really don't even need to do it. In fact, there's laws that protect you from retribution if you don't put in a 2-week notice, and they try to hold your last check or something like that, trying to sell me on that. And that's kind of what really struck a nerve with me, is like, you know, any company that I've ever like was gonna go work for, you know, I always line the job up and do the interview and all that stuff before I quit the job I'm already working for, you know, because I want that guarantee. You know, I'm not gonna quit a job, you know, hey, I'm out of here, and then go interview for a job and I don't get it, and then I'd fuck myself out of a job. So any place I was ever gonna go work, when I said, okay, the pay sounds good, the job sounds good, I'm on board, but you're gonna have to give me 2 weeks so I can give my current employer 2-week notice. And every place I've talked to has said, yeah, that's totally fine, you know, 2 weeks, you know, even if it's a little bit more than that, that's okay. We don't want you to leave your old employer on a bad note. That's ethical. It's ethics. So for the CR England recruiter to basically tell me, look, just give you the company you're working for the middle finger and tell them you're fucking out, you know, and they can't do anything about it. You don't need to put in a 2-week notice. That's fucking unethical. You don't do that, especially because, look, I wasn't making a lot of money at the auto shop I was working at, but I really liked the manager. He was a friend of mine, and I had a lot of respect for him. And I felt bad even telling him that I was even giving him my 2-week notice, just because I know it was going to kind of put him in a tough position, you know, because I worked really hard for that guy, and I really liked him a lot. He was a really good supervisor. He's a good GM, you know. So I'm not gonna fuck that guy over by saying, hey, look, man, I just talked to this company. They're gonna send me up to Salt Lake City this Sunday, so I gotta quit. I'm out of here. You know, just good luck. You know, no time to find a replacement for me. None of that shit. I'm gonna pack up my stuff and I'm out of here. So that just, this signifies to me that, you know, this recruiter for CR was definitely unethical in my opinion. Look, you may think I'm blowing it out of proportion, but someone saying that, any company that says like, you know, screw your old employer, you know, they don't need to give them a 2-week notice. Like, wouldn't you want me to give you a 2-week notice? You know, if I was gonna leave, you know, wouldn't you want a fucking notice? You want me to just show up at the truck and just leave it, you know? I don't know. I mean, I'm not, maybe that doesn't reflect on CR England. Maybe it's, well, maybe that recruiter was just stupid and he was overzealous. Like, yeah, but look, the recruiters of a company, they're the face of the company. They're your first contact when you're dealing with a new company. You know what I mean? If you go to join the military and you walk in and the recruiter is just out of his damn mind, just say like, yeah, man, you like to shoot stuff and blow stuff up, well, we're gonna have you doing that, you know, and all you gotta do is just sign a contract. Just sign a contract right here and I give you all the rest of the information. Like, I would be taken aback. I would be like, you know what, your tactics here are worrying me a little bit, and now I'm kind of skeptical about the sales pitch. Now you're gonna make me want to read the fine print a little bit because you're so quick. Like, basically, that throughout that short conversation I had, he said a few other things trying to convince me to come down. He's like, well, you know, what's it gonna take for you to come down? And he wanted to reach through the phone and pull me into orientation. And the guy was way just too overbearing, you know. And that's just, it was a red flag to me. You know, I don't know if it's desperation, I don't know what it is, but, you know, if I went to a car dealership to buy a used car, or like a pickup truck, and I'm kind of taking a look under the hood, and if the guy is like about to pass out from how much he wants me to buy this truck right now, I want you to drive it off the lot tonight. Let's get in there and sign the paperwork. I'd be like, whoa. You know, hold on a minute now. Is there something you're not telling me about this vehicle? Is there something I'm not seeing here? You know, is there a reason you're so, you're so fucking excited about me buying this thing? You know, you're making me not want to buy the vehicle because I feel like there's an ulterior motive here. So just based on, after that phone call, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm fucking working for them. There's no way. Not after that phone call. You know, just, that recruiter, he made a, like, I don't know. I don't know if all the recruiters do that. I don't know if maybe it was just that guy, but I'd like to think that the recruiters in a recruiting department, I mean, I would imagine they're not just doing their own thing. They're not just running their own program. They have, I would assume, a certain, a certain outline of things they're supposed to not say, and things they can say, things they should mention to you, information, stuff like that. So I would like to think it's not, I would like to think, that's just kind of how they are as far as recruiting. But any company that comes at me like that, I don't want to work for you. You know what I mean? If you come at me to work for you like you're trying to sell me a timeshare, I'm not interested. It sounds like a fucking scam. It sounds like you're trying to scam me. That's what con artists do. They try to talk circles around you to the point where you don't really even know what they're fucking selling, but they just talk it up. It's like, well, you should buy right now, and I've only got 2 left, and I'm just saying, I've sold a bunch of them. If you don't buy right now, you're gonna miss out. If you're trying to sell that way, I ain't interested. So that's the impression I got on CR England. So, and like I've said it before, as far as the internet goes, you're gonna hear a lot more bad stuff about companies than you are good stuff about companies. But, it's still, you still want to kind of keep your ear to the ground as far as, okay, maybe there are a lot of people complaining about this company or that company or CR England, but what are these people saying? So, when I read a story saying something like, CR England's got multiple lawsuits against them from mistreating their drivers and shit like that. I mean, that's serious business. That ain't just like, my DM was a fucking asshole and they just lie to everybody. That's one thing. But, you come out and say, like, they underpay their drivers and they've got pending lawsuits against them from multiple people or the state of Utah, stuff like that. That kind of sounds significant, right? But, I would just... Look, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have worked for England that, I guess, enjoyed their job, enjoyed the company, whatever. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people out there running for companies like England, or maybe Swift, or, these other companies that they don't really know enough about the industry yet to know that they're getting shafted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was originally going to go work. When I started out, I was originally going to go drive for Pam, and I decided not to, and that was a really good decision. The pay wasn't very good, and if you go through their CDL school, your first 6 months is required team. You have to run team for 6 months, and I was like, you know what, fuck that. And there's all these other companies, like I was going to go work for Stevens Transport, and then, I just kind of realized, I was like, their fucking entry-level pay is shit. And, from everything I learned about Stevens, like, it kind of seemed to me that the only way to make real money with them is to go as a lease operator, is to lease their trucks. I feel like their whole company division is kind of set up so that you'll go lease a truck because you'll think, okay, I went to CDL school for them, so now I'm in a 13-month contract where I can't leave, or they're going to sue me for a bunch of money. So after a couple months of driving for 26 cents a mile or 24 cents a mile or whatever shit they're paying, you're going to think like, fuck, I'm driving my ass off. Yeah, sure, I'm driving 3,000 plus miles a week. I'm maxing out my clock, but I'm still only taking home $700 or $600. Like, that guy just drove 3,000 miles and he took home $1,100. It's significant. It's one of the reasons I came to work here. To learn flatbed. Better money, I'm not getting rich, but 36 cents a mile starting out, it's a hell of a lot better than 30 cents or 26 cents or 24 cents. Even if I don't make as much miles as the reefer guys or the van guys, I still do okay, especially starting out. you know, as compared to other gigs. But that's, you know, that's what I've got to say about them. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I feel like companies like Swift, you know, I mean, you know, hey, you should, you know, I drive for Swift and they're great, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm not, you know, not calling you a liar. You know, I'm sure maybe some parts of Swift are good. I just feel like, you know, like when I'm at a truck stop and I'm parked next to a guy and I'm, you know, about to leave or whatever, and the guy next to me is having issues, and I'm like, hey man, what's going on, Swift driver, van driver? You know, hey, yeah, I just weighed my truck and I'm overweight on my axles, but not on gross, so I gotta slide my axles, and I'm trying to slide them, but you know, it's not, I can't do it. You know, I'm like, well, you know, you pull the pin on the tandems. It's like, yeah, I pulled the pin, but I can't get it to slide, and you know, I'm not really sure how far I should slide them. Like, how long you been driving for Swift? Well, 3 months now. You know, like, they didn't teach you how to slide your tandems and how far you should slide them and shit? Like, no. I mean, they taught me other stuff, but they didn't really teach me that. I'm like, how do you go to start get trained at a van company, but they don't teach you, like, how to slide your tandems correctly? So I'm a flatbed driver, and I taught a Swift driver, like, this is how you, like, you know, hold the trailer brake and then do this and then go forward and be in this gear and stuff like that, and then this is how far you slide the pin and shit like that, you know. But it's like, you know, it just goes to show. I mean, it's retarded, you know. It's just stuff like that, you know. I feel like going to work for a company like, I feel like Swift is a company that they thrive on rookie drivers, and a lot of what I've heard is once you get enough experience, they kind of don't really want you around anymore because you're getting expensive and you're going to start asking for raises, and they don't like that. That's what I've heard. It's what I've heard from actual people that used to work for Swift. Is like, yeah, if you stick around for like a year, they really don't want to give you more money, and they kind of want you to leave because rookie drivers are cheaper, you know. And it makes sense. I don't know if it's true or not. It's what I heard, you know. It's like, you know, all the things I tell you about Western. You don't have to believe them, but, you know, it's up to you. But anyways, I know this video, I was going to be a short video, and I just went on and on and on, but that's the experience I've had with CR England, you know. Am I telling you to not work for them? No, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to say that. Okay, what I will say is I would strongly recommend you don't. I would really recommend that. Just from what all the things I've heard, you know, I would stay away from a company like that, you know. There's a lot of other companies that you can get into that are smaller, and, you know, if you talk to their recruiter and tell them, I got to give my other job a 2-week notice, they'll say, yeah, you know what, go ahead, we don't want you burning any bridges, you know, a company like that. But anyways, that's all. I'm going to end this video right there. I'll make another one at another time on a subject that I've been wanting to go over, but that's it for right now. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a nice night.